open up as we look down at Cadel Evans, comfortably sheltering away from the wind at the moment. I have to say, though, that after all the troubles that he had yesterday, he's probably put those all behind him, and all he's thinking about now is Wollonga Hill, teammates alongside me, get some time on Simon Gerrans.
Well, even if he doesn't get time on Simon Gerrans, if Simon doesn't take time on Cadel, I think that'll be good enough for him, and he'll be quite happy with that. It will be a very, very tactical climb. Simon Gerrans, who we see here in the sprint leaders jersey, he will have to be the man to really control things on this climb. Cadel will be happy for anybody, virtually except for Ulissi, to get away and take those seconds. And if Simon Gerrans wants to get them, he's going to take control. And Cadel can just follow the wheel and try and take advantage of that further up the climb.
Is going to be, because when they came to Corkscrew Hill, Cadel Evans threw it all on the line, threw it all on the road, and he took that. Simon Gerrans made a tactical mistake of not being on his wheel, but then he couldn't close the gap.
He couldn't close the gap, and as we said before, it was quite a steep, long, consistently steep climb, and that's really up Cadel's alley. A lot of out of the saddle climbing, and he really comes into his own the longer and harder it gets. This climb today is a bit more up Simon Gerrans' alley. It's steep in the beginning, but then a lot more gradual and flowing, and he can use that explosive power then to jump away at the end and win the sprint and take the seconds. Now, we've seen him, he can match the best up here. He's won up here last year against tour leader Tom Jelte-Slachter. I think the ball's really in Simon's court, and Cadel just has to stick to his back wheel.
Centre of the screen there, 161. That's the third place ride in this race. Could he be the man to spoil the party for the Australians? Because he's in a very good position. We know he can climb, and he showed us at Stirling he can sprint as well. He could win at the top and take the time bonus. 39 kilometres, and the gap has moved out over 3 minutes now. 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So the breakaway is pulling away again as we head towards Wollonga.
Yes, but this is only a lull, really, before the big final onslaught as we come into the final few kilometres. Ulissi, the guy we were talking about before, he's only looking for 14 seconds, and a stage victory today, with the other riders not getting any time bonuses, would put him 4 seconds off the lead. But he's a much more prolific sprinter than the other two riders we've been talking about, Gerrans and Evans. In fact, you can't discount a man who's been 2 times champion of the world, even if it was at the junior level.
There's some really, really good matchups here as we see Garmin take the middle of the road, and they're riding in the tailwind here along South Road, about to take the right-hand turn into Tatachilla Road, where they'll hit yet another crosswind. And that's where these guys are racing towards the front for. They're just repositioning, consolidating where they are for when they hit that crosswind.
Port on the left, Nathan Haas on the right. 2 more Aussies who want to put the nose on the podium tomorrow afternoon. Right up there in the thick of it, using their team to set the pace. This is hotting up again now, and it's reflecting. We've now gone to 3:04, the gap. Everybody trying to see the front. The man with the beard, just through our pictures there, is Simon Geschke. He's the favourite for the Giant Shimano squad. He's going to hope the legs are kind to him in a few minutes' time on the climb. We're heading towards the wall now. We've done all the flatlands around Aldinga and the sprints. Next stop is the wall of Wollonga. It's a good name for the climb, isn't it? Over the top, down and up again to the finish. The current time gap inside now, 3 minutes at 2:54.
Well, Simon Geschke will have to do something pretty special, because he lost a bit of time on one of the earlier stages, although he did look like a threat. He's in 17th place, looking for 1 minute and 13 seconds, but he could be the man to spoil the party if we're looking for the individual stage victory this afternoon. 37.5 kilometres to go. Everybody now getting themselves organised in the main peloton. They now know that when they come into Wollonga this time around, there won't be any barriers, there won't be any U-turn, it'll be straight up. And the first time that we actually finished at the top of the climb here at Wollonga, we came round that final corner. I actually thought, Robbie, that I was at the Tour de France. There were so many people on the slopes of the climb.
It's fantastic to see such big crowds all the way up the climb, and here at the finish, you know, people hanging off that balcony of the grandstand like, you know, koalas out of gum trees. And this is just going absolutely ballistic at the riders. The atmosphere is just electric here.
42 kilometres, the speed of this group here for the last 3 miles or 5 kilometres, about 26 miles an hour, tapping out the rhythm. If you can hear all the car horns. It is, in fact, the arrival of the forward caravan. All the publicity vehicles warming the crowd up on top of Wollonga Hill, because now there's no escape. That is where we're going. The long road ahead, but that ridge in front is where we're headed to. That's the Wollonga Hill there, 2:43 in the saddle. This is a Matteo Trentin, who is setting the pace at the front. Looking at my computer, it's in the reverse again now. 2 minutes 51 seconds, the gap.
Yes, just normal impetus now as they accelerate in the main field. These guys have picked up the pace. This is pretty much the tactic that you see in the breakaway nowadays, and such a high level of professional sport. The breakaway has established itself. It doesn't want to get 14, 15, 16 minutes because they know that scares the peloton, but they hold back. They try and ride at 41 kilometers an hour or so, and then when they come down to the last hour of racing, they see if they can pick it up, almost taunting the peloton to try and catch them.
It's a little bit of game of bluff poker sometimes with the breakaways, and these guys know the game very, very well. You get out there and you almost create a distraction. You make the peloton think they're catching you very easy, so they think, oh, we can just back it off a little bit, and then they wind it up again. You try and keep that gap stable for as long as possible and then make your run for the finish as a group. And the peloton sometimes can get tricked, but today with the climb in front of them twice, I think the odds are well against them.
I agree with you on that occasion, but one man who knows how to play that game is a man on the front, number 42. Now, you raced with him for a long time. He's a real gent, isn't he? Jens Voigt. He's
an absolute gent, but he's a beast on the bike. And even when you know he's going to go sometimes, he just rides you out of the wheel. He is that strong, and he just keeps going and going. He grinds away and grinds away. He grinds his opposition into the ground. He's a lovely bloke, but he's terrible to ride against.
10 kilometers to the base of the climb now. That's about 6 miles to ride to the foot of Wollonga Hill. And then once we get over the top, we'll see the finish line. They'll go through it. It is then a 22-kilometer circuit to bring them back to that finishing line. There's the 4 leaders. I wonder how much longer we'll see those 4 names on our screens. 45.
The thing is, Robbie, once they come to the climb, it doesn't really matter if they start the climb ahead of the main field. On the ascent up here to Wollonga, they can lose very easily 1 to 1.5 minutes just because of the speed of the accelerations which will come out of the pack.
Yeah, it goes so quickly, and I think we'll see them lose really a lot of time once the bunch turns out of McLaren Flat and goes down towards Wollonga, that section of 5 kilometres. They're all preparing for the climb, trying to get in position, and a lot of the teammates are doing their last bit of work for the day. Their finish line is in Wollonga at the bottom of the hill. They'll take a minute off them down there easily.
Yeah, that's they're very much the tough section as they race for the base of the climb. 35 kilometres left to ride, and now Team Sky driving here at the front. The speeding peloton on stage 5 of the Santos Tour Down Under, the penultimate stage of this 6-day race, the opening of the World Tour season. We end tomorrow in Adelaide, and right now the peloton are trying to end this 4-man breakaway, which has led almost since the gun was fired today, but the gap now is down. 2 3/4 minutes was the last check we got. Here they are. Jens Voigt still pushing on the front there. They're now heading into Wollonga. They're about 8 kilometres or 5 miles from the start of the actual climb, which we climbed twice.
Rolling those shoulders, the man in the front wearing 42, Jens Voigt, you know that he's actually using the top part of his body now to force those legs down to get every last little bit of energy out. He wants to really put a bit of pain into the main field. If you want to win the stage, if you want to catch us, I'm going to make you suffer just that little bit more. KOM, King of the Mic, Phil Liggett.
Oh, dear. And they must be my friends. They've been here for years, those people. I love them.
Oh, come on, Phil. You've still got the paint on your fingers.
Oh, good. Well, you spotted that. I'm getting to dislike Robin McEwen.
He's very,
He's
very
hooking me, Paul. Stop him. 34 kilometres to go. Well, Robbie, you'd have been a bit twitchy now if you'd have been approaching that hill. You were a great climber, weren't you?
Yeah, I was really in my own class. You could climb this hill. Just took me a bit longer to graduate.
You left your image all over France in the Tour de France. You used to do a wheelie over the top of the mountains, didn't you?
Oh, I just, that was my little celebration.
Place, I mean.
Yeah, in last place. Just my little celebration about actually making it.
Yeah. But here, these 4 riders are being chased down by the peloton. Again, the tactics creeping in. They've locked off on the chase, and again, it's reflecting as we creep up towards 3 minutes again for those 4 leaders.
Again, this plays into the hands of Cadel Evans. The time bonuses are disappearing. 10, 6 and 4 time bonus seconds are available for the first 3 riders to cross the finish line. If the other guys want to win this race, they've got to wipe away that 2-minute and 51-second advantage of the 4 leaders, and Cadel Evans knows that. In fact, he's got a very good team tactician on board with Alan Piper. Alan Piper has been a professional bike rider at the top end of the sport, and he knows how to play the game, doesn't he, Alan?
Yeah, and it can be a very complicated game. One of the things really to the advantage of Cadel Evans today is there are a number of other climbers, incredible climbers, because Richie Porte, Robert Kiersink, they want to win this stage. They want to move themselves up in the overall classification. But at 29 and 33 seconds behind overall, Cadel can actually afford just to let them go on the climb. They take away the bonuses, they catch up a little bit, but it prevents Simon Gerrans from catching up anymore.
33 kilometres to the finish, just over 20 miles, and peloton keeping a consistent pace now of around 42 kilometres an hour. As we're turning around the beaches here, we're leaving the beaches behind. McLaren Flats now, heading towards Wollonga, and for the boys up front, they're just about there now. They're going to get very nervous in a minute because they've covered the same speed as the peloton over the last 10 kilometres, and now they're starting to prepare for the first ascent of Wollonga Hill. I would suspect that this 4-man breakaway will implode once they hit the slopes.
Yes, but they may well, with the advantage they've got currently, they could just survive to the start of the climb. It'd be interesting to see who has got the power left after what has been a very long breakaway. Well, in fact, inside of 3 minutes, but it's stretched up to almost the 3-minute mark. These riders have all of a sudden found some inspiration as they head into McLaren Vale. They now know that on the horizon they can see Wollonga Hill. They know they've got to drag their bodies over it. If they go over the top of the climb with a 1.5 to 2 minute advantage over the main field, we could be talking a bit of a turn-up for the books.
We could be, but then again, we're talking about Jens Voigt, and that's hardly a turn-up when he stays away in a breakaway either, is it?
So these are the 4 riders out in front. They're saying goodbye here to McLaren Vale before we get into Wollonga itself. Let's bring ourselves right up to date with this 5th stage of racing. Around the beaches, it was the 4-man breakaway and always Mikhail Ignatiev who were taking up the small time bonuses at Snapper Point. The peloton were never letting them too far away. Cadel Evans hiding in the pack and waiting for the climb, which is still ahead.
Well, the 4 leaders built up a lead at one stage, just approaching the 10-minute margin. But at that point, the main field started to get a little bit nervous and sent 1 or 2 riders to the front, especially Team Sky getting themselves organised. And they started to slowly bring down the leading bunch's breakaway advantage. As they came through Snapper Point the next time on Aldinga Beach, again, it was Mikhail Ignatiev, the Russian rider, who got himself maximum points and another 3 seconds time bonus. But at this point, the main field was starting to get very, very nervous indeed.
Well, they closed it down, but it's stretched out a little bit again as we're looking around 3 minutes mark here. Cadel Evans always in the centre of the pack, always being looked after by teammates, particularly his friend Ben Hermans. And the blue jersey of Simon Gerrans thinking, let's get on the hill. Let's see if we sort it out man to man. 2:55 shown to the peloton here. And currently, as I speak to you, it is still 2:55. These are the 4 riders now as they continue to move away through Aldinga and out towards McLaren Vale. That's the situation. 4 riders still clear. The gap at 2:54 now. The peloton are now in McLaren Vale as they now head out onto the hill. They're saying goodbye to where they started from.
Well, it's always a little bit deceptive once you see the breakaway start to stretch out their advantage. Once again, you think, oh, wow, they're going to get a victory here this afternoon. But you always misunderstand how quickly the peloton can go on the run-in towards the finish.
These boys are heading towards Wollonga. We're not quite there yet, but soon this race will become the Battle of Wollonga Hill.
The South Bank Sky Arts Awards are back to honour artistic greatness in 2013.
Great atmosphere and great bonhomie.
From music to literature, from comedy to opera.
Hello, arts people.
It's the only award show in the world devoted to all of the arts.
Recently, these awards were called the Oscars of the Arts, and we all decided we could live with that.
So join me, Melvin Bragg, for the South Bank Sky Arts Awards, Thursday at 9:30 on Sky Arts 1 HD.
We all want to get on with our lives, which is why at the Cooperative Insurance we keep things fair and simple, while still giving you great value. An amazing 30% of our customers pay less than £298 for our 5-star rated car insurance. You can also add our top level of breakdown cover, which includes Home Start, for just £34 in your first year. For insurance you can be sure of, go online now for a quote at cooperativeinsurance.co.uk.
The all-new Fiat 500L MPW. It's a little bit flexy. And with 7 seats, there's even more room and more possibilities. The Fiat 500L MPW. The newest addition to the Fiat 500L family. All available with 0% finance.
Play the showstoppers of Vegas straight from the casino floor with £10 completely free. With new Kiss slots. The Wizard of Oz. Bruce Lee. And Zeus. Play these and many other games online today and claim your £10 completely free at skyvegas.com.
Feed your curiosity. Enjoy Alpro Almond.
As stage 5 of the Tour Down Under really heats up. A couple of about 4 kilometres to go till the first climb of Wollonga Hill. It's a good opportunity to remind you of how things stand in general classification. Cadell Evans has a 7-second lead on Simon Gerrans and 14 seconds on Diego Alisi. If things continue the way they are and they manage to reel in this 4-man breakaway, that is going to change in some way, but I wonder how it will change. It's getting pretty exciting. Let's head back to Phil, Paul and Robbie McEwen.
Yes, a 95-mile stage from McLaren Vale around the circuit on Aldinga Beach, but now it's coming down to what everybody's been talking about for days. They've been in the saddle now for just a shade inside of 3 hours of racing, as we are now looking at 123 kilometers covered. That's about 80 miles of racing, 15 miles to go, or 28.5 kilometers. Once they come into town now, it's straight up that hill. They've been talking about it for 6 days. Now they've got to do the business.
And most of the teams have been and had a good look at it, so they know what's coming towards them. Thankfully, not as hot as when they did go and look at it. Temperatures come down a lot this week, which has blessed the peloton for sure. There's the peloton now. They're on the same stretch of long road here, and the wind is not so favourable just now. It looks as though that breakaway, it's down to 2 minutes and 8 seconds. So this is where it's all being closed in on this long straight, Rob.
Yeah, we see it coming down, dipping towards 2 minutes and be well under that very soon. As all these riders in the bunch, a lot of them are just, their finish line is here at the bottom of the hill. You could be forgiven for thinking that someone's dropped a bomb in this bunch as they hit the bottom of Wollonga Hill. A lot of guys will just throw out the anchors. That's their race done for the day. It's when a lot of other riders, their job is just starting, looking after their leader around that whole lap. Still a lot can happen. When you get up the top of this climb, you go across the ridge, it is very, very windy up here. You get some really strong crosswinds as you go through the gum tree forest up here, and you can get caught out there as well. There's so much that goes on in this stage.
And on the descent too, because once you get away from the tree line and once you start to drop back down into McLaren Vale and take the left-hand turn, you're looking at speeds approaching 100 kilometers an hour.
Well, there's the average speed now. It's come down now from 40 to 37.4 over the last 10 kilometers because the wind is now unfavorable. You can see the wind blowing off the cars as everybody gets prepared to celebrate Australia Day here tomorrow in Australia. The finish is only 27.6 kilometers away, about 17 miles still to race as we race into Wollonga itself. And I'll tell you, the crowds are ready. Most of the crowds have repositioned now. You're going to see continental scenes on the climb of the Wollonga Hill.
Well, inside of 17 finishes now come inside of the 2-minute margin. I make it roughly 1 minute and 55 seconds. Jens Voigt sitting on the front will not give up at all, but it's always, Rob, isn't it, a big advantage for the peloton, because when you come to a long straight road like this, you can see the red lights on the back of the cars behind the breakaway, and you can judge that distance. And for the guys who are doing the pacemaking, it's that sigh of relief that they've done the job that they needed to.
Yeah, they know they've got it done. They've got them within their sights. And if you can see them on this long road and you've got 2 laps around Old Wollonga Hill, you know you've got them covered. You are going to bring them back into the fold. The thing is, the guys who are doing this chasing have brought the gap down. Well, they probably won't see Jens Voigt for the rest of the day anyway. They'll get close, but they won't see him because he'll stay in front of them all the way the rest of the way around the laps.
Graham Brown on the far right brings through Robert Hessing. He's the big favourite on the Belkin team. The boys here in blue are working for Nathan Haas. The boys in yellow are working for Rory Sutherland. The boys in black are working for Geraint Thomas and for Richie Port. And the boys in red, they're working for Adam Hansen. And they're all in position for the climb.
Well, now the main field is very, very nervous. You've got to keep your hands on the brake levers, but not near the lever itself, because if you start to put your fingers near the lever, then the guys realise you're a little bit nervous. That's Richie Port, was the second position rider in the sky there with the blue stripe right down his middle. I'm pretty certain that he will have a little bit of a go here this afternoon. Up alongside him, the teammate who's doing the pacemaking to keep him nice and placed at the front of the peloton, always Bernie Eisel. What a captain.
Well, he was hurting Port there. Port had to ask him to slow down. He was gritting his teeth. Anyway, put him in position. We are now coming into Wollonga. This is a totally different circuit now. Straight on under that Skoda arch onto the mountain itself. These boys have done all 3 tours of Snapper Beach in the lead. They're taking the race to the mountains. The peloton is coming into Wollonga 1.5 minutes behind them.
Well, what I did notice there, a few riders positioning themselves at the front, like Richie Port, like Adam Hansen, etc., Nathan Haas, Simon Gerrans and Cadell Evans, conspicuous by their absence so far, sitting in the bunch, conserving everything they can. They know this is only the first approach to the mountain. They can get over here with the bunch quite easily. Position this time isn't quite as important as the next time, and they're waiting, they're watching, conserving, because they know how hard it's going to get.
Through the bottom of the left-hand turn, the crowd have waited for this moment. We're going straight on this time. Matteo Trentin will take them onto the hill itself. Will they survive? Good lead. They hit the mountain with 1 minute and 31 advantage over the rest of the race.
Well, that's Trentin, the Italian, on the front, followed by Jens Voigt in the black jersey. Just behind him, it's the Spanish rider, Juan Jose Lobato, who is a pretty good climber in his own right, just tightening his Velcro on his shoes there in 4th position is the Russian Mikhail Ignatiev. The gap is plummeting down right now. It's inside 1 minute and 30 seconds. And Robbie's quite right, Phil. You know, the guys who want to win the bike race overall, they don't need to attack this first time up the climb. They need to defend, because we're only talking seconds. It's only if they're looking to pull back minutes would they need to attack with a full lap to go. So it will, I think, go down to the final climb, but it is important not to get caught out on this penultimate ascent of the climb.
After all this fast racing today, these boys will be tired. The non-climbers are going to implode. They're going to get stuck. Riders could get blocked. Watch the chaos as they start this climb. And Gerrans and Diego Ulissi and Cadell Evans must make sure they're not blocked on the climb. We've lost one already here, and gone from this breakaway is Labato. So we've just got the 3 riders going on to the climb now, and the 42-year-old Jens Voigt is still there working away.
And he just keeps working away like that. He makes all the sacrifices in training. He loves this. He loves the atmosphere. And this is something I didn't expect, that Ignatiev would go on the climb. I would have picked him as maybe the weakest climber out of these guys that were left. But he's the one doing the damage right now, the former track rider.
This is Labato, who's dropped off. I noticed that Jens Voigt had taken up the challenge, but it looks as though Trentin might be dropping off there too.
Well, the thing is with Jens Voigt, if he sees a cycling jersey with a number on the back of it, he'll always chase it down, and that's exactly what he decided to do here. Juan Jose Lobato from Spain, Movistar, he's slipping away from that leading group. It's always difficult, having been in a breakaway, pounding the big gears all day on the flat, and then you've got to change to the other end of the cluster, and it's a difficult pedaling style. It's a different pedaling style.
Particularly this end of the season. We're right at the very first race. Lobato, like these riders, come from Europe, maybe not quite in his rhythm yet. A long day out in the breakaway, then hitting a hill like this, the legs just explode.
1 minute exactly to the peloton, who are also on the climb. Here they are now as they start the climb. See how narrow the road is when you're in the pack now. This is a big danger that leaders could get caught in that. This is Ignatiev still setting the pace. Marshalled by Voigt, and it looks as though Trentin has recovered here and gone on to the tail.
It's always very difficult when you first start the climb. You feel under pressure, but sometimes once you get through that point, you do recover and get your rhythm back, especially in a breakaway situation where these guys have all been using pretty much the same amount of energy throughout the course of the day, and they're all probably in a similar state of fatigue. But Jens Voigt, he is man of the match once again. He wants to ride without riding in the anonymity of the main field, and he's quite happy to stamp out the authority. He's not even thinking about the fact that the main field are pulling back. All he wants to do is survive through the top of the climb and see what happens on the rest of the race.
Just like a couple of days ago when he was in the breakaway, he will not give up and will not stop pounding those pedals until he's actually caught and passed. We see here Lachlan Morton on the front from the Garmin Sharp team for Nathan Haas sitting in second position. The Skyrise gunner is Philip Dagnan just behind him. Wes Salzberger in fourth position. It's a pretty strong tempo being set here by Lachie Morton.
Looks like Rowan Dennis has got up into second place there. Maybe he's the secret weapon for Garmin Sharp. But as the riders continue, look at this. Andre Greipel still looking round at Adam Hansen and riding on the front.
Well, he's pacing Hansen. A little nod coming from Adam Hansen there, saying, yeah, keep me here. I want to try and see if I can get myself a couple of points once we go over the top of the climb. A first category climb at Wollonga Hill, and that's what Hansen's got to do. If Hansen can get across the top of this climb in the first four or five positions, he may well seal the victory in the King of the Mountains. One problem, there's still 3 riders up the road in front of him, so he would be sprinting for 4th place.
The catch of Lobato put back into the peloton here. As a move, he's seen his teammate caught there. That could be Moreno gone there. Javier Moreno has made his move. He was second overall in this race a year ago. In fact, it is Ruben Platzer who's gone.
Well, this is the team of climbers. We talk about them in the Giro, the Tour de France. These are the men who love it. As soon as there is an incline somewhere on a bicycle race in the world, they go for the move. He may well not be the man they're expecting to win here this afternoon, but he certainly will be trying to set something up.
And the man coming across to him, former Orica Green Edge member, and now with Drapac, Wesley Salzberger. He's seen the move. It's a good move to make now. Try and catch them napping a bit, use this group as a springboard.
Yeah, because they know, don't they, that the guys who want to win the race overall, the Evans, the Gerrans, and the Ulysses, they'll be watching each other on this climb, and it might give another little group the chance of a counter-attack to get some time over the top, and then, who knows, create a surprise.
Well, take your hat off to Ignatiev. This is the counter move. Salzberger's the Drapac rider, just joined up with Ruben Platzer, who won the Tour of Castilla y Leon in Spain last year. That's a small stage race in April, so he gets early season good legs. and he's trying to get across now, and he's checked over to see is he pulling away. It is still Lachlan Morton here who's setting the pace at the head of the peloton. No move by the big favourites just yet, but the bunch is starting to string out. There's Cadel Evans, number 1, looking for the blue jersey. Can't see the blue jersey at the moment. He's about 5 or 6 men down on the right. It's a long, thin line, this.
Simon Guerin sitting quite a long way back on this ascent. He's down to about 20th position, and that's a little bit of a surprise, unless, of course, he's gambling on having an easy ride here, conserving a bit of energy, and to have one explosive go on the final ascent.
It's exactly that. He's conserving as much energy as possible on this first climb. He knows that Cadel Evans isn't going to go on the attack, nor are any of the main serious rivals at the top of the classification. He can afford to be a bit further back on this climb, this time up. Next time round, you'll see him a lot closer to the front.
Quite interesting. Sulzberger there, again, like a number of other riders in this race, have opted to wear a skin suit, or the kind of tunic that you would only wear in an individual time trial. They all realise that it's those little bits of advantage that might give you the win.
There's the spread, 46 seconds now, with Platzer and Sulzberger are in between, and they are only about 250 metres behind the front runners now as we get further up the climb. Could be in favour, though, of Skoda's points of Adam Hansen keeping his lead here, because none of these riders up front are going to score points that will affect him overall.
No, well, you know, any of the close rivals in the KOM competition, not scoring points is good for Adam Hansen. Status quo is good enough for him. Jens Voigt, he just wants to get to the top. It's a matter of pride, I think, as they're 1 kilometre from the top of the climb, and you can see the anticipation on the crowd up here.
Yes, a kilometre from the summit now. Let's have a look back. They're the 3 leaders. Here come the 2 chasers. That's a gap of around about 25 seconds. And then we've got about 17 seconds back to the main peloton. As we pull back from Platzer and Sulzberger, there's the main field led by the 2 riders from Garmin Sharp.
There were no major move coming as we speak, and Garmin Sharp obviously trying to set this up. You've got Cadel Evans sitting in about 20th place. Not too far away from Cadel Evans was Simon Gerrans. They are both waiting, I think, to have the showdown on the final lap. This gap is not very much. So 23 kilometres to go. That's about 13 miles of racing left. And Jens Voigt really still hammering everything out. And I think, yes, it probably is just a little bit of pride for the oldest man in the race at 42 to try and lead him over the top.
3 riders trying to make the summit. They should just about do it this time up. Hats off to them. No real reaction from the peloton. It's just been a high-tempo climb that just shed the weaker riders, as the 2 Garmin riders up there, Lachlan Morton and Nathan Haas, have set the pace.
I'd say hats off too to the Australian cycling fans. The crowds are really building on Willunga Hill. As they come towards the top, you'll see, as we see that crown that's painted on the road, the crowd is going to absolutely go off when these riders come through for the first time.
And seeing the oldest man in the race, the oldest man in professional cycling, 42-year-old Jens Voigt, bring them up the climb of the Willunga Hill. Absolutely fantastic.
300 metres to go as he makes his way through a Tour de France-style crowd here at the top of the climb. That isn't a smile on the face of Jens Voigt, by the way. That is a grimace, because he is turning his guts inside out to get to the top of this climb.
It may be a painful grimace, but he absolutely loves it.
Well, he's about to turn into sight of the finishing zone here. How fitting is this that Jens Voigt, in his last season as a pro, brings them up to the top of the climb first time. I don't think Ignatiev would dare go by Jens Voigt at this moment, as Voigt brings through the 3 leaders to an enormous cheer on top of the old Willunga Hill.
22.5 kilometres to go. That's 13 miles. I tell you what, the commentary position was a rumbling here as we could feel the vibration of the cheers for Jens Voigt. And Adam Hansen just coming up there as well to try and see whether or not he's being challenged there by Domon, the Frenchman, who's close to him in the overall.
Well, this is a one-on-one fight here. Domon's going to get it too as he kinds a second kick off that bend. Adam Hansen will concede a point or 2. Had to let him go for it, so this battle goes to the line now in the Skoda King of the Mountains.
None of the main contenders, though, challenging at the front of the peloton here. They're going to get themselves organised because now we are going to look down for the finish. Look at that crowd out there, Robbie. That really is magnificent.
It is fantastic as a rider to come to a country like Australia for many of these internationals first time, see the crowds and see the passion that the Aussie fans have for the race. We saw there as those riders accelerated for the KOM points, Hansen and Dumont, they've pulled back the breakaway as well of Plaza and Wesley Salzberger. So it's 3 men in front, the bunch coming back together. This race is on now.
So Adam Hansen now has 30 points and Domont equals him in points. The battle goes down to the line. Well, that was just about the worst possible result for Adam Hansen, Paul. Axel Domont getting over in 3rd place. He's now got 30 points. Adam Hansen getting over in 4th. He's now got 30 points. It's going to go down to the next climb.
And it's going to go down to the climb in Adelaide tomorrow. In fact, I'll better have a look at the race route because maybe there isn't a climb anymore.
Yeah, they've changed the circuit on the final day. We're so used to seeing them climb Montefiore Hill. Now the boys are going frantically into the race, but we better check this out.
It's all over today.
It's all over today. We better double check those placings. 3 men in front, Dumont across the line in 4th place, and Hansen in 5th. It'll have to go to the judges.
You're right. That's just right. 4th and 5th. You're right. I'll recalculate now because I may be 1 point adrift. Carry on talking amongst yourselves.
Right, anyway, let's get back to the race because Jens Voigt is still putting the hammer down, but now we're starting to see Orica Greenedge, and amazing to see Michael Matthews, former world under-23 row racing champion, stamping out the authority. In 4th position there in the blue jersey is Simon Gerrans. He knows what he needs to do now. He needs to pull that breakaway back. He wants 10 seconds time bonus. He wants to win the stage and try and grapple the ochre jersey away from the shoulders of Cadel Evans. But I tell you what, the sprinter there, Andre Greipel, what a ride he's doing today because he was in about 10th place.
He's done a great ride to get over the top. At Orica Greenedge now really lining things up. They've got Heyman, Matthews, Impey, Clark, Gerrans. They've got 6 of the 7 riders, all bar Goss, who's done a lot of work this week. They're trying to take advantage of the crosswinds across the top of the climb here. See Cadel Evans very attentive. He's there in about 10th or 11th position, just watching what they're doing and making sure that they're not going to flick him off the side of the road like yesterday.
Well, Evans has got a lot of teammates up there as well, and that also could be the difference between winning and losing this stage at the end.
It hasn't broken up like I anticipated here. These riders are very nervous. They're fighting for seconds. We do have a tie at the moment in the King of the Mountains, 28 points apiece for Adam Hansen and for Axel Domont. And the last climb to the finish will decide that competition because there's no climbs tomorrow.
Well, talking of sprinters, seeing Andre Greipel here, it's still at the head of affairs. Just seen Marcel Kittel just cruise across the finish line. He's going to go and ride another lap. He's got his thoughts firmly on tomorrow. But here on the front, Orica Greenedge know this race dips and climbs. It changes direction and the wind can really pick up. And they're ready to take advantage of that one small moment. They think they can get rid of Cadel Evans.
Well, Michael Matthews here now piling on the pressure at the front here as the tempo is steady downhill here. Speed is the thing, and it's still being the workhorses of the teams here. This is Jürgen Rollens, who finished 2nd yesterday. Looking down on the field here now, we're on the tour of the Old Wollonga Hill here now as the riders continue. And the breakaway is regrouped at the front at the moment. Order over the finish line, Voigt, Ignatieff, Trontin, Axel Domont, Adam Hansen came over next, and as a result, with 1 climb to come, 28 points is equal for them both.
Yes, well, if they don't get any points on the final climb of the day, it's going to go back to a countback. And I think if the rules haven't changed, and they change it every other year or so, it'll be the man who has won the first category climbs, and that would put the win on the shoulders of Adam Hansen. So I'm sure the referees are going through their handbooks as well at the moment.
We'll see. That I don't think either of those 2 riders will be winning the next time around. It's the finish line as well. And that's Ignatieff, who's just got picked up there in the red, I think.
So we can see now a really good sign that the wind has picked up from the right-hand side. The riders are really staggered in that echelon formation. They've really been put under pressure. Riders chasing the wheel. They're not getting a very good sit now. Orica, Green Edge and Lotto are really putting the pressure on. See little splits starting to appear in this field as they cross the top of this ridge and the wind really starts to hit them in the side.
18 kilometres to go, 11 miles or so to the finish now. Orica Green Edge are playing their card. They've brought all of their men to the front to try and dispatch Simon Gerrans onto the old Wollonga Hill next time around. Gerrans is in the blue jersey off to the right of our pictures.
Look how clever he is. He's got his teammates, and as we said earlier, just using a part of the road, so he is nice and sheltered from the crosswind there as he sits just there. There's down to just 2 leaders now. Jens Voigt on the front, won't give up at 18 kilometres, 11 miles to go to the finish, and Matteo Trontin, but their advantage is not much more than 10 or 15 seconds. I'm pretty certain that the Orica Green Edge guys on the front of the peloton can see these two.
Yeah, I think if these two riders turned around just briefly, they would see the Orica Green Edge train coming right at them. That's probably why Ignatiev has thought, well, now's the time to sit up and going back. I've had a good day out. I guess these two guys are thinking, well, let's get some sort of prize out of this. One of us will get most aggressive.
Yes, and Voigt may be the one that will nod the head here, the judges, because he's had a terrific day out. But they're going to bring them back now, 17.5 kilometres, coming back into the sights of these last 2 men. Orica Green Edge are driving. Cadel Evans will be watching with intense moments here because he knows exactly what Simon Gerrans is planning to do.
Well, Gerrans knows he's got to lay it on the line on this final climb up here. He knows he's got to get time between himself and Cadel Evans. But Evans also, he's a seasoned professional bike rider. He's been around forever. He's held the pink jersey in the Giro d'Italia. He's won the Tour de France. He's won the World Championships. And I just got that feeling, Robbie, that Cadel Evans, there he is, #1, is very, very motivated to win this bike race here on Australian soil.
He is. He's been world champion. He's won the Tour de France, but he would really like to have the Tour Down Under, Australia's biggest race, on his list of victories. So he knows all he has to do in this stage is follow Simon Gerrans, not let Ulissi slip away. All the others can bound up the road and take those bonuses away. He's going to stick to Simon Gerrans like glue and make him do all the work to pull the others back into the fold to be able to take those seconds on the line.
130 kilometres these two riders have led the race today, and at 16.5 to go to the finish, just 10 miles. They're being put back into the pack. A terrific day of racing by them, but now it's all a matter of who is going to win the Santos Tour Down Under tomorrow. This is the battle now for the final time count.
Yeah, but look at the work that's being done. Orica Green Edge are there. They're using half of the road, but Cadel Evans is perfectly positioned at the back end of that line, and he's not scoffing too much wind in his face currently, is he, Robbie? He's in an ideal situation. He's got that American rider up alongside him, Brent Bookwalter, who's doing a great job of work there, wearing #2. He has developed into quite a good bike rider over the last couple of seasons.
Yes, he's a very solid time trial. He's become quite a good climber, and what he's also doing, instead of taking full shelter himself, he's putting himself almost half in the wind to make sure that Cadel Evans has got absolute full shelter. He doesn't have to worry about riding right on the edge of the road. There's less risk, there's more relaxation, if you can call it that, and he's saving his energy.
It's funny that sometimes, isn't it, when you're a team helper, when you're helping a teammate, you can sometimes push yourself that little bit more for someone else rather than for yourself. And I think Brent Bookwalter is turning out to be a rider like that.
Yeah, and that's something we're seeing Michael Matthews doing as well. He's dragged himself over the climb. Another one, Andre Greipel. Who would have expected him to be here at this point in the race and working for another? It's how passionate these guys are about their teams.
Says a lot for Andre Greipel's fitness here to have got over that hill and still be at the front. He's just off to the right there in that white jersey. As the team here still in the favour of Adam Hansen. A little bit surprised to see quite so many riders here. There is Cadel Evans. Brent Bookwalter, his teammate, is #2 in front of him. On the wheel of Cadel Evans is the 4th place overall, Nathan Haas. He's also had a good first climb.
Yeah, that's him, number 133, right on the wheel of Cadel Evans. He's dreaming of a podium. Imagine what that would be like, Robbie, on Australia Day tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, the first 3 positions taken by Australians, and it's a serious possibility.
it is a possibility. Richie Port's got a lot of work to do. He's 33 seconds behind overall. He still has to make up 19 seconds on Diego Ulissi. I don't see him being able to do that. But with the top guys watching each other so closely, there is an opportunity to maybe slip away, get the seconds and a time gap and move right up.
But Nathan Haas is only looking for 9 seconds to move up into 3rd position in the overall standings.
Average speed for the last 5 kilometres, 50.5 kilometres an hour, 32 miles an hour.
It's that nervousness, it's the crosswind, it's the team riders, getting their leaders to the front, setting the pace, and now they're on this 100-kilometre-an-hour descent. See that front wheel just wobble just slightly, the full aero tuck. This is the section we saw Matty Lloyd crash on a few years ago and off into the bushes and tumbling through the dirt.
I think the sun got to him actually on the tent and he went straight through those trees. Unfortunately missed all the trees, but he was a very lucky man that day, Matthew Lloyd. Yeah.
I have to tell you one thing, if you're watching this at home on a big old flat screen, you better put your seatbelt on because it's going to get a little bit hairy on this descent. We haven't got to the fastest part of the descent yet. 12.5 kilometres to go at around about 7.5 miles left. And the main field now are waiting to pounce. I give it a little bit of an advantage to Adam Hansen because if you've got Andre Greipel still in the group with you, it puts pressure on you to get up there. He's just got to finish inside of the first 5 at Adam Hansen on the stage, and he will definitely run out the winner of the King of the Mountains competition.
Well, that's his aim.
I think it's going to be hard for either Dumont or Hansen to take any points at the top of this climb. We'll be looking at guys like Evans, Gerrans, Port, Giesink. You name that, there's a whole heap of them. Nathan Haas will be very interesting to see if he can maintain that position, if not maybe move up. Jürgen Roelands with that aero tuck, the aero bike. He's gone off the front, and I think he's in 2 minds here. Should I keep going? Should I wait? Go back to Hansen? Oh, well, I'm on TV. I'll just keep going.
Yeah, well, look at the bands around his jersey there. The bands of Belgium, the former Belgian national champion. And as they say in Flemish, and you can translate, Robbie, sterke manneke.
He's a very strong man indeed. He led out the sprint yesterday and still ran 2nd.
So 11.3 kilometres to go. Jürgen Roelands leads the charge off the old Wollonga Hill, but we are going to go round now back to Wollonga and climb it. And next time, we're up to the top. Looking at Jürgen Roelands here, well, the last time he rode this race in 2012, he fractured his 6th vertebrae in a nasty crash and then got himself fit again to finish 7th in the Olympic Games road race in London. Now he's out front, freewheeled off the front at high speed, and there is all that's left of the peloton really in with a chance, about 25 riders.
There's been quite a big split here. You see the effect that crosswind and the pace of Orica Green Edge has had, and then that very fast ascent. Some riders have not managed to hold the wheel, and now they're in a fast tailwind section. It's very hard to catch up now. Anyone who's been left behind, any of the classification riders, this is energy you really don't need to waste chasing back on.
Jürgen Roelands taking them down to the final approach again towards Wollonga. It's just sat on the back here, number 142, Julien Alaphilippe, the Frenchman on Amiga Farmer Quickstep. 142 there.
There as well, the champion of Finland, Jussi Väikkönen, the white jersey with the blue cross over it. He's the leader of FDJ, Française des Jeux.
I think they're going to get back.
You can see that actually it's split into 3 groups. The second one has now come back to the first, forming quite a sizable peloton again. This is a 3rd group on the road, and they're just really trying to rejoin. But in all honesty, I think these guys are the ones who had to get over, support their teammates in the crosswinds, and their job is essentially done for today.
Been a long, hard chase. 10 kilometres to go. They just went through the banner there. 6 miles. Everybody's stretched on. It's difficult for this group on the road we're looking at here from the helicopter. You've got to chase like crazy to get back in, especially the riders from BMC, because they want to get up there to be alongside Cadel Evans for as long as possible. But then when you hit the climb, you're in oxygen debt already.
Exactly, and I see 2 or 3 BMC riders here. They will try and get back and do anything they possibly can, even if it's just offer whatever they've got left in their drink bottle for Cadel. Do what they can, make themselves as useful as possible.
Well, there's the BMC boys at the front trying to drive at the moment. They are having an effect. They are coming back because the leaders are thinking now of the last climb of the hill. So at 9 kilometres to go, they're about 3.5 kilometres from the start of the last climb.
Well, again, as it happened just the other day when we saw Orica Green Edge come to the front in the crosswinds, it was again Orica Green Edge that have used the crosswinds to split this race there is picture book. You take that out of a racing handbook, you've got Orica Green Edge all over the front end of the main field. They are putting pressure on everybody.
Well, they're doing a good job of working here, and they've still got Simon Gerrans just behind him. So he's in a perfect position. It's obvious what he's going to do. He's going to hit the bottom of this climb and go for it. The peloton swinging back down the hill now as we go back into Wollonga and start the final climb. When we get to the top, it is the finish this time. What will the order be? Because all the men that matter are still very much together on this 5th stage of the Santos Tour Down Under. There's the peloton regrouping. It's doubled in size as riders have come back after the fast descent. All of Orica Green Edge know what the job is now, to lead the man in blue who's just obscured. There he is, Simon Gerrans to the summit. They've just been going on 3.5 hours. All that remains, about 8 kilometres of racing.
Well, behind Simon Gerrans, the rider in the black jersey, there is Ian Stannard. Behind him is Richie Port. There's number 11. 143 kilometres covered so far, and moving and scuttling up the outside. Big old Jens Voigt goes again.
Well, how does he do it? 40. Well, that's confirmed. He's the most competitive rider of the day, that's for sure.
And you hear the crowd just going wild.
Did you hear that, Robbie? The crowd behind us up on the hill here saw these same images and just cheered.
Well, I can't believe it. That is fantastic to see. Jens Voigt, 42 years of age. Talk about throwing out the sandbags. I just saw the Santos hot air balloon at the side of the road there. They've thrown out the sandbags, and I think that's exactly what this man's done.
That's how fast. Look at that, 88 kilometres now, 55 miles an hour they came off the hill.
I'm not sure if he thinks he's maybe just started the next stage. He's going in the break of the day.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. They're not going to chase him because the infight has started for who wins this race. And Jens Voigt could steal this and win the stage. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would be wonderful, but it may be a little bit far-fetched,
does it?
But I think there's no doubt now about who's going to be the most aggressive of the day. He finished that breakaway with Trentin, and now he's just going to put himself out and say, well, that jersey for me, I will be visiting the podium this afternoon.
Yeah, look at his face. Grimace all over, but he's prizing out the seconds. 1, 2, 3 seconds here. He's up to about a 10-second advantage, but it's the lull in that group behind. Team Orica Green Edge, they're in control of the situation. They're doing what they want to do. They're bringing Simon Gerrans carefully but surely to the foot of this final climb of the day to set him up for what he hopes will be a winning attack. And there, the man who he wants to beat is number 1, Cadel Evans, who leads by 7 seconds.
This is worth looking at. This is the situation in the race as we go to the last climb of this race. 7 seconds Gerrans, 14 Ulysse, 23 Haas, 29 Guessing. The first man over the line gets a 10-second bonus off that time. So if Gerrans were to win, Evans will have to be right up behind him. Ulysse is 161 in our picture there. On his right is Cadel Evans. He wears number 1. He's got a couple of teammates rejoined him. Right at the front, the blue jersey of Simon Gerrans. If you catch him, he wears number 11.
And we can see now Cadel Evans is down to 2 teammates only. Rick Zabel is one of those number 7, still at the head of a Danilo Wiss, in fact, along with Buchwalter. 3 teammates were dropped in that little group that was struggling, trying to get back on there. In this group here, 3 BMC riders. Cadel Evans could really use that bit of extra help with this crosswind blowing across the road from left to right.
Yeah, 6 kilometres, 4 miles, and the wind coming from the left-hand side. The man who has lit the blue touch paper for the fireworks to go off on Wollonga is Jens Voigt. Looks back every now and again to try and get a little bit of an indication of how much time advantage he's got. I've got him hovering on around about 10 seconds, but when he hits that climb for the last time, Robbie, please tell me, it's going to feel like a newspaper getting slapped into his face.
Yeah, I think that 10 seconds is just going to evaporate immediately. You know, we're going to see really who's going to take which tactic on this climb. Someone's got to make it hard. Someone's got to try and get away. Cadel Evans just has to follow. They're going to hit a headwind as they turn left onto the climb as well, which makes it easier for Cadel. He can ride in the wheels. These guys ride up this hill so fast, they're still getting a slipstream.
Yeah, that's the important thing to know, but that gap is coming down. It's no longer 10 seconds. I think Jens Voigt has hit the wall a little bit there. Richie Porter's got a teammate up alongside him. A great job of work being done here. But what about Andre Greipel? He is doing everything he can to look after Adam Hansen. He's throwing the responsibility onto Adam Hansen's shoulders, saying, mate, I'm the sprinter. I'm looking after you today. Come on, get yourself a top place in the overall standings. And please, get the King of the Mountains victory too.
This is a big payback from Andre Greipel and also Jürgen Rulands here at the front. You know, they're the sprint guys, and now they work for Adam Hansen. I think he's got to get so much motivation out of this work that his teammates are doing for him.
Well, he's had a nice little smile there, and since the base of the last climb of the race, he's been the only leader of the King of the Mountains since we've begun. And Hansen is equal first at the moment. It's going to go to count back if he does not score any points on this climb at the finish. But it's going to be tough.
I haven't seen Axel Daumont of AG2R in this leading group of riders. I've seen Maxime Bouet, who's the leader of the French squad, but I haven't seen the man who is challenging Adam Hansen there, who's just sitting right behind the German champion in the white jersey with the German flag across the middle.
I don't see him either down there. Oh, wait. No,
that's Bouet.
That's
Maxime Bouet.
Who's 71. He's 75, and I don't see him there. Well, what on earth happened to him? Because he obviously was there when he went over the top.
I think he put his engine into the red zone when they went over the top of that climb to get the points, and then Orica Greenedge opened up the gas once we got to the flat part with the crosswinds.
He would have been one of those many riders caught out by that move by Orica Greenedge. He put a lot of energy into going for that intermediate, or that mountain sprint, and then he's paid for it, and he's not here anymore. He'll just have to, well, it's up to the judges now anyway.
Well, we're all going to suffer along with Jens Voigt here now as he tries to lead them to the foot of the climb. He can't possibly hold off this lot because there's too much to play for. The Orica Greenedge boys are going to launch their man in blue, Simon Gerrans, on this climb. They've advertised the fact for the last 10 kilometres, and it's up to Cadel Evans to try and go with him. Looking to the shimmer of the heat of the day here now, as the police guide us through the crowd, head us towards Wollonga Hill. 3.9 kilometres to go. We are back in town, and right behind is now what truly is the battle of the old Wollonga Hill.
Yeah, the chief commissaire or the chief referee in that car at the front of the race, just looking back to make sure we have a good, clean race, a good, clean approach to this final ascent. And it's one German chasing another German, because the German national champion is on the front, Andre Greipel, trying to set this up for Adam Hansen, and they're now just 5 seconds behind Jens Voigt. Robbie, you couldn't have expected a better finale to a race like this.
No, this race is ready to really explode now. Now, all these guys have been doing their work to be washed away. We just have to wait now and see who is going to be the first one to make the big attack. Cadel Evans knows he just has to follow. It's up to the others. Somebody's got to do something.
Look at this, the summer in South Australia, all of Adelaide, I think, has come out onto the old Wollonga Hill into this lovely town here. Now they're catching Jens Voigt as the climb begins. This is all for everyone else now, because there's nobody can afford to shadow box now.
The best form of defence is attack, and that's exactly what BMC have decided to do. You see the riders on the front looking back. 14 slipping away. Matty Heyman, boom, boom, out go the lights. Job done for the day this afternoon. Cadel Evans hovering there. You can see the Orica jersey. Moreno moves forward. Cadel Evans, though, is in 4th position, looking back to see where is Simon Gerrans. A little bit of a replay of Corkscrew.
Amiel Moyard is trying now to lead this for BMC. Also, Bookwalter is there as well. Cadel Evans is in the middle, but where's the blue jersey? Because he needs to be close to Cadel. Otherwise, we'll have the situation of the Corkscrew, and he will ride away from him.
We spoke about this morning.
There he is,
Evans'
number
best
11.
tactic was to go out hard, try and really cut off the legs of Gerrans, make him suffer on the steep sections in the beginning of this climb, and hope that it really takes the sting out of his sprint and he can't come over the top.
He's looking comfortable. Look, another teammate comes up alongside him. Richie Port moves right up there into 3rd position. They've cracked Simon Gerrans. Gerrans has got to go. He's got to dig deep now to keep himself in contact. But Gerrans has been put on the defensive this afternoon. Look at the face on the man in 2nd place there. Cadel Evans is looking like a man who is going to finish this off.
He's got that look on his face, that pain look, but Gerrans looks quite comfortable. He's crossed that gap. I noticed him throw his water bottle off. All that ballast has got to go. Every gram counts.
He's got Simon Clark with him there. Clark's had to take second wheel. I think Gerrans crossed that without any trouble whatsoever. He's come onto the back of this group. Brett Buckwalter here is the man setting the pace, but at the end, I think it's Ben Hermit actually who's gone to the front at the moment. Gerrans and Diego is there as well. So the big three are there. Now, where's Nathan Haas?
Well, a bit further back, I just spotted the white jersey with green spots on it of Adam Hansen. Just behind him, there was Rory Sutherland in the blue and yellow. The big names are right at the front. There are splits appearing everywhere. Evans is in second position. He likes to have a teammate up alongside him for as long as possible. He'll wait for the steeper part of the climb if he can, and then he will try and accelerate just a little bit more.
So we see Buckwalter on the front, Evans, an attack from Salzberger. Port comes into third. Ulissi in fourth position. Wow. Simon Gerrans. They can afford to let Wes Salzberger go, but Cadel Evans chasing. He's trying to make this climb so hard. He's trying to literally choke Ulissi and Simon Gerrans.
Cadel Evans is actually trying to win this race from the front as he does. Because he wants a hard race. He's now moved up. Richie Port's got his back wheel. Ulisses come up behind him. And Gerrans has got there. Simon Clark is trying to get there. It is, as we always thought it would be, a battle of the men who've dominated this race, going head-to-head on the climb of the Wollonga Hill. Port is going now. Evans is having to dig deep.
Evans closes down on Port. Ulissi trying to close that gap. Simon Gerrans behind Adam Hansen in fifth position. He's still got things under control. He's just hoping that there's a little lull he can catch his breath.
Well, Port is a good result for Evans. If Port wins, he takes away the bonus. He's not going to pull back his overnight 33 seconds. Evans is digging deep. Hansen is coming forward now. Ulissi is turning out to be a superstar. The Italian is right there with Evans.
Port dances on the pedals. Evans, he's out of the saddle, grinding up towards him. He sees that he's got Simon Gerrans on the ropes here. He's trying to deliver the killer blow.
Well, Cadel Evans has kicked again here now. He's trying to cross the gap. Remember, on the corkscrew hill, Evans rode off Richie Port, rode off Simon Gerrans, and went to lone victory down in Campbelltown. Now Port is trying to get his own back. This is a much steeper and longer climb. But Cadel Evans is still kicking as he carries the ochre jersey with pride.
And look who's chasing down Cadel Evans. It's Adam Hansen in the polka dot jersey. He's leading that group, which is beginning to grow in number. Simon Gerrans is actually getting a very good sit in those wheels. He'll be waiting until the road flattens out just a little bit and try and make that jump across. He may not catch Richie Port. He could catch Cadel Evans and then take some seconds of the line.
Absolutely. Now, Port is taking the all-important 10-second bonus. It won't be so helpful to Richie Port, but it will be helpful to Cadel Evans, staving off Simon Gerrans. Let's take a look at this man, because this is a man we believe could win the Tour of Italy, could win the Tour de France, be the next big Australian cyclist. He's a Tasmanian, so all cheer in Tasmania.
Well, Cadel's chasing Richie all the way. Richie Port is at 33 seconds behind Cadel Evans. He's got a lead here of about 8 or 9 seconds. Put that together with a bonus. This could nearly put Richie Port on the podium. We really need to see what's happening behind and who is going to take the bit between the teeth and try and close this thing down.
I tell you, this is getting a bit serious here, because that gap is stretching quite a lot. Richie takes a look over his shoulder, thinks, wow, this is a big gap. In fact, he's double taking it because he can't see the ochre jersey anymore. Here he is, though, fighting to keep that lead at the moment. Advantage Evans.
Well, you can see the difference in the pedalling stroke. Richie Port has just doubled that gap. Cadel seems to be pedalling a little bit square-like on the bike. It'd be good to see how far behind they are. He has actually opened the gap up, and there's an Orica Green Edge rider trying to pace the next group back to Cadel. Richie Port is doing some massive damage here, Phil.
Massive. It should be Simon Clark on the front trying to get the main field back into it. But look at this now. There's a move there by Simon Gerrans trying to get across, but we're under 1 kilometre to go, and Richie Port is trying to steal the ochre jersey at almost the last time of asking. Chased under the banner there by Cadel Evans. Then comes Ulissi, then Gerrans. Then it's not Wesley Sulzberger, it's his brother now. It's Bernie Sulzberger, I think.
Along with Adam Hansen as well and Daryl Impey. But Richie Port, he's looking oh so smooth. He looks complete in control, but here's Gerrans. You see that look in his face. He's got Cadel Evans. They've brought him back.
Can you believe this? And now the next thing that number 11 will want to do is beat these two riders and grab himself a bonus and take this race right down to the finish tomorrow on Australia Day in Adelaide. Richie Port is back in the big time here, Robbie.
We've got Richie Port going solo, and then the 1, 2 and 3 from the GC all shadowing each other. If they look for too long, Richie Port will ride away with this Tour Down Under.
Oh, he's looking for 33 seconds. He gets 10 for the win, so he's got to win by 23 seconds to get the ochre jersey.
Evans goes into damage control, and now he attacks. He's foxing like anything. The crowd goes bananas.
Well, Ulissi there took a look at Cross, and Evans took it as a cue to attack. He's lifted the pedal revs. This is all being enacted out on the steep slopes of the climb here. Port is coming up to win this stage, but they're still fighting out the seconds that will make the difference.
I tell you what, Richie Port is going to come very close to overtaking all three of these riders. Cadell's not giving it everything now. He knows that Simon Gerrans is sitting in the wheel, and Port is going further and further away at 300 metres to go.
Look at the crowd here, 300 metres to go. 3 Australians and an Italian do battle here. 3 of them will be on the podium tomorrow in the finish in Adelaide. Richie Port is trying to break up that trio behind. He's given his all today. It was a Sky plan, and so far it's going well. Richie Port is going to win the battle, and then the clock will start. One thing's certain, he gets 10 seconds for winning. He's got to cross that line now with 23 seconds in hand. I don't think that's possible.
And here's the sprint. Ulysses
Can
hit
you
out.
believe
Gerrans
it?
trying to line him up for these bonus seconds. Cadell Evans, if he finishes 4, no bonuses. Richie Port, what a fantastic ride.
Port gets
Has he
the
taken enough
victory.
time?
Now Ulysses gets second place at just about 7 seconds. Gerrans gets third in a bonus. No bonus for Cadell Evans, and in fact he crosses the line 15 seconds after Richie Port.
Well, Diego Ulissi and Simon Gerrans have managed to actually drop Cadell Evans and put about 5 seconds into him, Phil.
We'll have to wait for the count and the official time, but it could be that Simon Gerrans has got the jersey back.
Absolutely. I think he's just ripped that jersey off Cadell's back, like we saw Cadell do over the corkscrew. Well, right back at you, says Simon Gerrans. He's managed to make that acceleration. Cadell looked like he wasn't as comfortable as the other day, and he's lost time.
According to the time, Cadell Evans has lost 6 seconds to Simon Gerrans, who actually gets 4 seconds bonus. He is back in ochre by 2 or 3 seconds.
Wow, well, Simon Gerrans, you can never discount him. Made maybe a small mistake the other day. Cadell was the strongest in the race. You see, Cadell, he just came that 100 or so metres too short on this climb, and he's let, within the space of 110 metres, he's lost 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, what a brilliant day of bike racing here in Australia. Richie Port gets the win, and well-deserved it was too. He took the lead right down at the bottom. He held them off. It looks like a big gap in slow motion. We come into the picture. Ulissi, a man of the future for sure, second. A small bonus for Simon Gerrans, and then a gap before we see the arrival of Cadell Evans. We're waiting for the judges to tell us.
Well, there we see Richie Port.
Well, let's go down immediately to Paul Sherwin, who is with Richie Port. What a day, Paul.
Well, Richie, what a day, the day before Australia Day. The team have been with you all week. What a way to finish it off.
I mean, the guys are absolutely incredible today. And, you know, it's a little bit of a shame on the corkscrew stage. I was a little bit out of position and you know, lost some time. But look, I felt great coming in today, and you know, the team had a plan, and the boys are absolutely incredible all day.
It's been a great crowd out here once again on Wollonga Hill, and a great battle the crowd have been treated to by you and Team Sky, who did a good job for you.
Yeah, look, I mean, Ian Stannard, Geraint Thomas, those guys were there to the last minute. You know, they dropped me off right on the front at the start, and you know, I think the victory is just full credit to those guys.
But what this stage today has done is actually brought all of the riders in the top positions overall very much together. It could go down to bonuses tomorrow around Adelaide.
Yeah, I mean, it could do. And a little bit stressful. I'm not really much of a crit rider, but you know, it'll be all hands on deck tomorrow with the team, and I'm sure we'll do all we can to protect the position I'm in.
Pleased with a win like this on home turf?
Yeah, I mean, it's January and I'm not in top form just yet, but to win in Australia on this climb, it's you know, very special victory. Cheers.
Well, let's have a look at the stage results. This is going to make interesting reading. Richie Porte gets 10 seconds ahead of Ulissi and Gerrans, 14 on Robert Hessink, 14 also on Impey, and Evans 14 seconds back. Haas at 16. Now, with the bonuses taken into account, 10.64 for the first 3 riders, the overall situation is going to make some reading. And that could be why we're waiting for that to be confirmed at the moment. But what a day. Adam Hansen in 9th place. He'll probably be given the king of the mountain. It is going to be 1 or 2 seconds at the top of the leaderboard going into the last day. What a fight tomorrow amongst the Aussies it's going to be.
Oh, it's going to be an incredible battle around Adelaide. None of these guys are sprinters. There's so many seconds on offer with 3 intermediate sprints. Richie Porte, textbook ride. The attention was on all the others for the overall. He's not slipped away. He's just smashed away from that. He was such a great ride by Richie Porte. And so interesting behind him. What a tactical battle that was.
They were all in the red zone, weren't they? They were giving it their all, and it was just a little bit too far for Cadel Evans. That last kick by Ulissi and Elguero took him out.
Well, we saw he was the aggressor there.
Minute. I think we can go down to Paul Shern because that looks like he's with Simon Gerrans. Are you there, Paul?
Yes, I am, Phil. I'm with Simon Gerrans. Simon, Wollonga Hill always seems to have had a little bit of a smile on her face for you.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I've just managed to sneak back into the lead for the GC, so yeah, it's been a great day.
A lot of suspense on the climb there, because one time it looked advantage Evans, advantage Gerrans. It was right up to the final few hundred meters.
Yeah, that's right. I tried to conserve as much as I could on the climb because it was quite a strong headwind. So the second you put your nose in the wind, you really died down. And I could see that Cadel, he's obviously a little bit nervous there because he did a heck of a lot of work. And when we jumped in the finish there, he wasn't able to respond.
What about Richie Porte? There must have been a little bit of worry when Richie Porte went clear. I'm sure you thought, thank goodness I've got a 30-second advantage.
Yeah, I picked it right from the start that Richie would be the favourite for today. He's been very quiet all week, and he's a very explosive climber, so I thought it would be right up his alley.
Well, we thought today would split everybody up, but it's brought everybody closer together. I know you guys are not reputedly some of the best sprinters in the world, but there's still time bonuses available tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting day on Australia Day. Yeah, I'm not sure what sort of advantage I have, but look, I've got a fantastic team here. As we saw today, yesterday, all week, they've been absolutely brilliant. So that gives me a lot of confidence going into tomorrow. Well, good luck tomorrow. It'll be a great day. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that's the team. That was Matty Heyman there. Look at it. There it is. Confirmation by 1 second only. Cadel Evans slips behind Simon Gerrans. 5 seconds back to Ulissi. Richie Porte comes into 4th. Nathan Haas goes down to 5th. Gessink sits there in 6th place overall. Absolutely amazing.
Well, here today, the big aggressor, of course, Richie Porte, but Cadel Evans on the attack as his defence, but it's blown up in his face, Phil. He's lost the jersey by 1 second.
Terrific race. Richie Porte wins, but Gerrans gets his jersey back.